So thank you very much for the opportunity to come and talk to you this evening about the Hotel Victoria. My name's Steve Jolly. I'm a director at Marengo Communications. So we're a Cornish-based company working with our client, Nicholas James Group, to kind of work with the community, talking about community consultation, stakeholder engagement, and managing sorts of meetings along like this. I'm joined this evening by Drew Rinmore from Nicholas James Group and Dave Jobbins from Luke and Beck Planning Consultancy. Drew's just going to...
Steve, are you using the mic?
I am, yes. Of course, apologies. There we go. So Drew is going to talk through some slides. We're not going to talk... So the hotelier is the Nicholas James Group, who have purchased the hotel. Drew's going to talk through some slides. We're not going to be 15 or 20 minutes. We're going to be hopefully a bit shorter than that, and then really hopeful to have some dialogue with council this evening about what we'd like to see on the site and to talk a bit about the investment that we're going to bring. So Drew, over to you.
Thank you, Steve. I'll let you run the slides behind me. So just introduction. So the Nicholas James Group, you may know us from the Harbour Hotel collection. We've worked on hotels, a few in Cornwall, Padstow, the Metropole, Foy Hotel, and also the Porthminster down in St Ives. And effectively, we're a hotelier who develop a 4 or 5 star elevated hotel product, and we've worked across the south coast for the last 25 to 30 years doing so. We've recently acquired the Hotel Victoria, and for those who may or may not know, the hotel itself is in pretty poor condition and is unfortunately had to shut down. So what we're doing now is we're looking at our options on how we can develop it into a new brand, which we call the Nicky Hotel brand, which if you flip on a slide on there, we've opened our first one, I think it was 2.5 years ago in Bournemouth. Similarly, an older property which we took and converted into a 5-star product, which has opened and transformed the hotel scene in Bournemouth and given Bournemouth its best hotel it's had for years, which is a great product. So the intention with Hotel Victoria is to obviously take it, trade it, run it as a hotel. We envisage that we'll be creating in the region of 250 jobs through the hotel on there. We haven't yet worked out our plan of exactly how the works will take place and when they'll take place. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later on there, but the intention is that it would be a Nicky Hotel brand. There's some slides I've got further on which show some of our ideas and thoughts already on what that style might look like. As a business, we hold our assets and trade them. We don't usually sell them. We have undertaken mixed-use developments in the past, which has helped maybe with the funding of the works, because obviously the hotel itself will need considerable funding to bring it up to the standard that we'd expect for our properties on there. And so we're currently looking at how that may or may not work. And with the help of Dave's team, and Dave will talk about this a little bit later, we're looking at what we can and can't do to be able to help generate the funds to make sure we can make this property exactly what it needs to be in that part of the town on there. So so we carry on flipping through the slides there. So obviously the hotel itself, as you know, was built late 1800s on there, and has had various extensions over the period, more recently with the Bertie's nightclub and the lodge rooms. And if you flick on again, please, on there. Yeah, just a bit about the context. If you carry on through there. So hotel itself, obviously, you can see from there, it's very close to the edge of the tramway there. And the property consists of, say, the White House, the hotel itself, and the Mexican restaurant. There are other properties on there which we are in dialogue with the owners of, but they're currently not within the curtilage of the property on there. If you flip on again. So yeah, so you can see from here the extent of the property. At the moment, we've just left the property literally about an hour ago. The roof is currently leaking quite heavily into the top floor of the hotel at the moment, which is quite a challenge. And we've got security fencing going up around there at the moment. So if you move on just one more. For those of you who haven't been in the hotel, this is sort of the standard that's currently in there. It's very tired on there. It is in need of obviously some modernisation. If you move on one more. So David, if I pass the microphone to you, do you want to talk about the local plan?
Very briefly. Good evening, everyone. So again, my name is David Jobbins. I'm from a planning consultancy called Luke & Beck, and we've worked alongside Harbour Hotels over the last 12 years or so, and you've mentioned already some of the hotels you may be familiar with, but there's hotels in Salcombe, Sidmouth and elsewhere. And hopefully you'll agree, if you've been to one, that they are a fantastic product. What we've got here obviously is a beautiful building. It's, as you said, very tired. That's a polite way of putting it. It's been extended over the years. It's had a lot of ad hoc extensions to it. Perhaps not been as loved as it could have been. We're currently looking at the context. That's not a simple job. We've got to look at the historic context. We've got to look at the landscape context and many other things. We're very conscious of your new Key Town plan, which has the Hotel Victoria area, which is disappeared. It's all right. Thank you. Which is shown on the screen there. That obviously shows one possibility, I guess. But I guess the good news story is we want to retain and refurbish the hotel. We do not have anything to show you of massive interest tonight. We're not going to display any drawings here and shock you or surprise you. We very much feel this is an introduction. It's the first part of our journey, and we've got a lot of work to do. I think what's likely to happen is that you might see a sequence of applications when we've got a head around it. But again, we don't know at this stage what's going to be coming your way very soon. But one thing we are keen on is to bring it back to life, because I think hopefully, again, you agree that's essential for the town. So I haven't really got anything else to offer you, I'm afraid. I'm sure you're disappointed with that. But we do tend to work very closely with town councils and local residents. We think that's essential. It's a long-term commitment, as you've heard from Drew. It's not a question of a nasty developer coming and building, making lots of money and then going away again. This is very much a long-term investment for the hotel, and they obviously want to make it a success. So from my point of view, it's, like I say, it's very much an introduction tonight. And also, any questions you've got, we'll be very happy to answer them if we can. So again, we're being very brief intentionally. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. I mean, I can speak for everybody else. I am absolutely delighted that you're investing in the hotel as a hotel. There are certain issues. Can I just very quickly ask, when you say late 1890s, how late? It makes a difference in the conservation area we're looking at.
Is 1899 to 1900?
Shucks, I would have preferred it to be, I would have preferred it to be 1895.
We've got imagery of the grand opening of the hotel, and it does flip between those 2 days, 1899 and 1900. So
yeah, it was a very interesting time. I've got plenty more to ask, but I'm going to ask other people first. Who would like to? Miss Sarah, go first.
Yeah, no, brilliant stuff. I see with your bottom drawing the disappearing of Senor Dick's. I think you're looking at Plaza. There was a hell of a hole when that was dug out, and constructed in the 90s, I think.
This is the town team, not
Yes.
your issues.
Yeah, that's not our
So
drawing.
the question
That's
would be,
yours.
are you thinking of getting
I
rid of
see.
Senor
I see. I didn't realise this was town team. So
Yeah, no,
I thought this was yours. Okay, so town. Yeah. So Senor Dick's, is that going to be?
Oh, we own it. Yes, sorry, it's part of the
Yes,
hotel. It's part of the site.
It's named
but
after Richard, who was the son of the owner of the Hotel Victoria.
What is the town team's role then?
The eye map is what we're saying.
So,
I don't know.
so this is an extract from the Newquay Town Plan,
Yes.
Development Framework. Yeah, so it's not something we've produced, it's something
Yes.
you've produced. And it's only up there because obviously it's called the Hotel Victoria Quarter or area, and that shows a possible development of the site, let's say. It's just an example of what could happen.
And is it that yellow there turning what is Senor Dick's into a public space?
So this, It's all right. So this was just something produced to, I guess, generate ideas in it to an extent. And it does, you're right, it shows Senior Dix removed. And it also shows some other buildings by the Travelodge as well. But this isn't our drawing, okay? So it was just, that's all right, that's okay.
Just for context, can I ask how many years it took you to do Bournemouth? It looked beautiful, obviously, on the website at least. I'm not. I've been in Bournemouth a bit recently, and I'm not sure if it's the one I'm thinking. But it sounds like it's a similar scale of renovation. So, and were you able maybe to do it in stages at all, or was the entire building out of operation for what, 3 years or something, or how did it go? Thanks.
So the chairman of the company, who's not here tonight, he once he gets his consent, he goes. He doesn't hang around. So we have a little matter of the sort of pre-planning position, if you like. That will take some time to go through, I'm sure. Then we've got the planning application itself, and we all know that councils are quite under-resourced at the moment, so hopefully it won't take too long. But once we get a consent, hopefully, I don't think it would take too long. In terms of the Nicky Hotel, one up there, I think that was something, was it about 9 months or something? The hotel itself in Bournemouth, I would dare suggest it's not as bad as what we've got here, so it might be a bit longer than that, but very keen to progress once we've got the consent, hopefully. Thank you.
I mean, you obviously know it's a listed building. I confess, I actually think the building's completely hideous, and it dominates the whole town, but I'm probably in a minority of one here. So this is definitely a trick question. Have you thought about what you're going to do with the lift going down to Great Western?
Just on the listed building point, forgive me, it's a locally listed building, but it's not a statutory listed building, is my understanding.
Now, I did not know that. What's a locally listed building?
Sorry, I don't mean to lecture you. So a statutory listed building is where it's just nationally listed, basically. So you have grades of listed building. So you get grade 1, 2-star, and a grade 2. Those are rare buildings, and they're listed and they're protected, of course, quite rightly so. Then councils often designate what they call a locally listed building. Now, that doesn't actually bring any additional protection to it. It's just a recognition that it is a building of some historic merit. But it doesn't mean to say that for example, you can demolish, we're not going to do that, but you could demolish a locally listed building without the need for listed building consent, for example. But with a statutory listed building, that's got the utmost protection, and it'd be very rare that you'd be allowed to demolish a statutory listed building.
Interesting, because I've seen several appeals and reports where they cite it's a listed building and you have to protect it all over it, and you're saying that's simply not true. It's just wishful thinking.
So a statutory listed building, yes, it's protected through the Listed Building Act and the listed building consent. You'll see listed building applications all the time. In terms of a locally listed building, it doesn't give the council any additional powers to protect it, but it does become, obviously it's a consideration as part of the application. Correct, and that's exactly right, exactly right. And as much as you might not like the building, we quite do. And I think one thing that I can say is that the hotel will be retained. Now, there's a lot of additions to the building. There's Senior Dix that we all know about. Whether you love it or hate it, I don't know. But we've just got to look at the potential of the site. The hotel does need considerable investment. If you're familiar with Padstow, you may be aware that there were some apartments that were built in the grounds. The money from those apartments funded the hotel. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened, quite simply. But we're not at that stage yet. Like I say, this is very early doors. We saw that you had this meeting tonight. We thought, great, we'll come and say hello, hi. This is who we are, and that's really it. But sorry, I've rambled on a bit.
If you don't have these separate, because I think every business plan I've seen for a hotel does precisely that. It's the only way it works. The reason I asked about the lift, because one of the problems you are going to face is it's really close to the cliff, and the cliff's falling.
I'll let Drew come back to some extent. I mean, we think it's a fantastic asset. You know, it's straight onto the beach. It's unique. It's wonderful. We're very aware of coastal erosion and coastal management. And Drew, I don't know if you want to just chip in.
Yeah, so reinforce it. The lift's integral to our hotel operation. We will want that lift to be running. So, and we are currently in discussions with several coastal and marine engineers on looking at the cliff, looking at the areas there to make sure that it is suitable and stabilised enough to be able to deal with that. Because the lift is operational. It's currently working, but we are correct. So we are reviewing that.
We're going to have to talk very carefully to the coastal people who finally, sorry, I shouldn't say that, who have got their act together in Cornwall Council. I'm very impressed with what they're doing at the moment. Yep. So you will need to talk to them. I think that is going to be really, really difficult to keep that safe. Bearing in mind there is a vein right next to it, which is where we had that massive fall. About, you've seen the pictures of the massive fall we had a few years back. I mean, I wouldn't go down that lift. I think you'd have to be a very keen tourist to do that. But yes, so I think you're going to have to be very, very careful. You were talking about a swimming pool. Where would you put that? There's no reason why that shouldn't be on the edge of the cliff.
So obviously there's currently a pool there. I think ideally, and again we're early stages, we'd like that to be a little bit bigger. We like the spa facilities generally at our hotels are sort of a jewel in the crown of them, and so when you've got a property that you need to attract visitors in the winter months, you need the spa option on there, and Bournemouth's no different than that, and so ideally we'd like that a bit of a larger facility than currently is available. It's just making sure that that can happen at the moment. So,
I mean, because you know, I think you're going to struggle with the weight of water that near to the cliff. You know, if they're talking about 15-metre development, you know, I can see you're going to have stumbling blocks on that one. Whereas Senor Dix already has a handy hole in the ground.
So you're very right about the coastal erosion, coastal management. We're acutely aware of that, and that's going to need a lot of investigation. Absolutely right.
Right, so I'm not going to ask about specifics because I understand that it's way too early, but the things that interest me are, so this is a major infrastructure development into Newquay, which we're very excited about. I'm wondering whether you could talk about stories that you've had in other towns where you've brought other hotels back to life. And if you, I'm thinking about values that on your website, which I've just looked at, about sustainability and environmental support. I'm thinking about how the organisation will interact with the town, so things like local employment, how you would engage with the town as a whole in terms of its integrated position within the town and what you would bring in terms of a company. And if there's a story that you can think of as a similar sized hotel in a different town and how long it took and all of those, you know, what are we facing when you've bought this? You're going to do a major development. What's it going to look like in the next few years? Because I mean, I don't know what your view is about how long it will take, but it's a project that's going to run for a long time, isn't it, before you get up and running?
I think the key question is, will you be able to operate it while you're developing it? Will you be able to operate it while you're developing it? I mean,
yeah. So if we take the example of the hotel in Bournemouth,
right.
The hotel opened 9 months after we started work on it. There are areas externally out of sight of the front of the hotel where works continued to carry on post that. Obviously, it was key for us to make sure that the product was available for the key trading months, obviously being spring and summer in there. So again, that will be very key to what we do there. And with regard to engagement in the town, I mean, but Bournemouth, I guess, is a great example of the fact that the area of town where the hotel is in Bournemouth has pretty much been transformed because of the Newquay, and we found that there's an awful lot of engagement now from local businesses who are now using our hotel, and it's very much become an institution. Now, maybe that's because of good marketing, maybe because it's a really good hotel. I'd like to think it's probably because of the latter on there. I mean, it is by far and away the best product in Bournemouth on there. And we've proven that there is a market there for it. You know, when you look around Newquay, obviously there's a blend of hotels in the town. Obviously, if you creep further afield, you start to get some higher end hotels, and you know, I won't make any bones about it. This will be a very inclusive but higher end hotel. We want people through and run through it, so it will end up being an integral part of the town.
Could I just add to that, if I may? So it's a new build hotel, but Southampton Harbour Hotel has got a rooftop restaurant, and that place is packed on a Friday, Saturday night, Sunday night, whatever, throughout the year and during the week. And in terms of the clientele, you know, it's everybody. It's not exclusive, and it's, you know, ultimately that's the business model. So it's important for the hotel to be part of the town because, you know, it's business. Yeah. So you know, I'd echo what Drew's saying in terms of sustainability, which again you were touching on. Christchurch, and we're going back a long time, Christchurch Harbour Hotel, which was the first in the Harbour Hotel group, that had the first carbon, I mean, it's going back a long time, a carbon neutral restaurant within the grounds called the Jetty. The chairman's not here tonight, but he's very keen on renewable technology, etc., etc. The council will, of course, rightly push for, I'm not sure if it's BREEAM Excellent or whatever the standard is, I think it is. So those will all be part of the planning process. But it's very much one of engagement as well with not just the town council, but with local residents and businesses. But no, in terms of sustainability, I mean, that's key nowadays anyway. There's a lot of, a bit of a hackneyed phrase, there's a lot of embedded energy in the existing hotel, which we don't want to throw away. If I was acting for a major developer, which we do sometimes, they'd throw that hotel away, and I think that'd be a great shame.
I'll just come back on one more thing. It's really to do with what you said about you're going to try and preserve it as the hotel. And I mean, I disagree with the chair here. The facade, I think, is beautiful. I think it probably does need a bit of sprucing up, to say the least. Do you envisage that the facade will look the same once you've renovated?
Forgive me for asking you a question. Do you know the Metropole in Padstow? You probably do, but I mean that looks, it's a much smaller scale hotel. I'm not comparing it necessarily, but they've refreshed that facade, and it's much better. I would envisage very much the same here. So I don't know if you might be showing it. It needs a lot of TLC, and most of the harbour hotels, not all of them, are either statutory listed buildings. So the Bristol Harbour Hotel is a brilliant hotel, quite small, and they're all generally historic. Some statutory, some locally listed, some not listed in any way. But that's part of the joy of the Harbour Hotel Group. They do have 2 new hotels, Southampton and Guildford, but the model is very much heritage assets that are then brought back to life.
One of the important things before being Sarah in is the fact you can actually see it from all over town. It's one of the things I don't like about it, but it is a very big hotel, and I like the idea of the town team where they're surrounding it with green, because I think that sort of would soften the effect. But you can actually see it. You name it in Newquay, because of our hills, you can see, oh, what's that? And it's the Hotel Victoria. And yes, people do love the facade. I think Sarah's next.
Yeah, a couple of things. So Bertie's clashes with this thing, so I presume that won't be reopening up as a nightclub stroke O'Flanagan's.
It's too early to.
Well, no, I mean, it is a clash in terms of what you're saying that you're wanting to achieve, so I am presuming that will go.
It's unlikely it would represent what
Yeah,
Bertie's is now.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
The other thing was, it would, I don't know if you consider it would be great if you could, is staff accommodation. The hotels are really struggling these days, and having to, because the staff and the accommodation available in Newquay, hotels, you know, traditionally had staff accommodation, and that's gone over the years, you know, and looking at the aerial shot of it, you know, it'd be great on there if you could get some staff accommodation on there. I think you'd find your staffing easier, because it is an issue down here for finding staff for good
We've
quality
done that in
hotels.
Bournemouth as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It is an issue. All I would say, is a little bit of caution, is that in Grasmere, it's another one of the harbour hotels, there was staff accommodation, but again, the viability of the hotel was quite under question. And so they converted that staff accommodation to letting rooms to help the viability. I'm not saying anything about it because we just don't know. But you are right. It's important. I think the big push at the moment is the viability and making sure we can make it work as a 4 or 5 star hotel. Thank you.
I strongly second the point. This committee look quite closely at environmental points. BREEAM sounds fantastic. We also look at sort of details. My fellow councillor, Sarah Thompson, is fantastic on water collection, SUDs, things like that. Flooding's been, water's a huge issue in this town. And looking at the Niki, how do I say it? In Bournemouth, it looks stunning, beautiful. And if this ends up anything like that, fantastic. And I love what you've done to at least what it looks like you've done to conserve understated upgrading of the building, but it looks elegant and fantastic, which looks like it would weave in quite well here. And in that way, you're able to do some of those sustainability features of strengthen the traditional build and the sort of efforts there for energy and heat and warmth and that sort of insulation, that kind of thing. And then I just would second this point. I live in a shared flat, and every year we get how many people asking if they, desperate. I've got a job in Newquay. I've been looking for ages. I can't find anywhere to stay. And people will happily live in a tiny room or a shared room or whatever. So if there's any way you can build that in, the location is amazing. They'd absolutely love it, especially if their elevator's running. And surfboards, you'll need to be able to get surfboards in the elevator. This is a surfing town, if you ever get that elevator going. And then finally, I'd just say I also noted your modern slavery statement on one of your websites. Great to see that effort. We're also a town that strives for real living wage so that people can afford it, because it has been expensive here. We'd hope that that's what happens with your staff, although that's beyond planning, my apologies, but just pointing that out. And then in terms of what our chair was saying, that greenery is really important in this town. We're lacking it in Cornwall generally, but also across Newquay, and anything you're doing on that front, many of us on this committee would strongly support. And if it's not in the design, you'll get grumpy points from us, my apologies. But we're consistent, at least. We say this to every applicant, that we need greenery in this town, especially where you are, is right where the traffic's coming through, and we get street level air pollution, which is not the nicest in the middle of summer when it's hot and you get that sort of ozone. So those are some things to think about, and kind of airflow as well. But overall, really well done on the other properties. And if it ends up anything like any of them, a fantastic contribution to the town. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning and Licensing meeting of the 19th of February. Duncan, do we have any apologies?
We do. We have apologies from Councillor Williamson, Councillor North, and I believe Councillor Bell has got a standing apology.
Yeah. Councillor North, of course, doesn't have to apologise because she's a sub. Delighted to see you, Councillor Morris. It's always nice to have the subs coming along as well. Okay, our usual, anybody got any burning interest they know about? In that case, they might come up later on. Meeting management issues. We do have somebody in the gallery, but I don't think it's affecting any of the, public questions or...
No, no. Our attendee this evening is simply observing our meeting with a view to a future street trading application. Right. And we do have one on the agenda this evening, so it's going to be quite a worthwhile meeting.
You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. So we do, you don't.
We'll leave quietly if you want.
Right, I've got, oh yes, planning and licensing meeting scheduled for the 30th of April. I'm sure you all know that there's an election on May the 1st. I would not be coming on the 30th of April. Do we have to make a will you be coming on the 30th of April? I think we could have a problem. I think you won't be coming on the 30th of April. I think we could have a problem with quoracy. So what are we suggesting, Duncan?
So my question is, will councillors be happy to respond to an email? I'll email the whole committee asking them to confirm their availability. I'm then going to go to the town clerk and argue our case.
It's one of those blue moon months. We've got 3 meetings in April.
We're being told there's limited scope for any additional meetings due to the pre-election period, which is governed by some quite tight rules. Any extraordinary meeting to replace this one on the 30th would need to be arranged well in advance and would need to be a date prior to the election date. Okay.
That won't happen because we've already got. I mean, I am going to come, health permitting, to the 2 other meetings that are in April, but I'm not prepared to commit another evening. I mean, it's going to be a very, very busy time. This is the advice I've had from that I've had from the town clerk. I would not be, personally, I will not be recommending that we have a meeting before. No. Nick?
I won't be coming to any of the meetings in March, in any other meetings in April.
Yeah, well, you're subsidized, but I understand.
It's going to be a difficult month for everybody.
What about the meetings? For those of us who are hoping to come back to council, what about meetings after May the 1st? Not as a substitute for the 30th, but just as we are proposing to carry on regardless, are we?
Right, so just to wrap it up with the meeting of the 30th, you're happy for me to just canvass and assess whether we are going to be quorate? Because I think we can find out quite quickly if we're going to be quorate or not.
And if we were not, is it possible to add some of those applications to earlier meetings to just sort of, I mean, if we've already got them? Because by the time we're here to spend another half an hour, then it's sort of done, rather than 3 meetings.
I will shuffle about as much as I can, okay? Okay, but the extensions tend to work in the other way, and unfortunately the time frames involved, but we're unlikely to be able to do this. So the meeting, anyway, with regard to the post-election,
I'm going to abstain because I can't see what's possibly more important than the 3rd planning meeting in the month.
So yeah.
It's a bad idea if you could actually circulate with your note attendance at the other 2 as well, so that we got an idea about whether we have a problem on either of the other 2.
So all April meetings, I will email you to canvass for all April meetings.
No.
Duncan, I'm going to give you my apologies for all 3.
Yeah.
If you could reply to the email though that I'll send out.
Yeah.
So the next thing then, similar but different, is the post-election arrangements. Because Andy wasn't around last week, I spent a while wording a recommendation that could go to full council that was basically for full council to say, when the annual town meeting comes along in that post-election period, when effectively the new council is formed and a lot of the necessary decisions for the council to function are made, that the interim arrangements for planning would be on that agenda. Andy, the town clerk, has assured me that that he's already looking at that, but and it will appear, those interim arrangements will appear. Last time round, I mean, for most of the people in the room, you won't have been on the council 4 years ago when we did this. We had a little more flexibility because we were still doing I've gone back into the depths of time, we were still doing this online because of COVID. And it was actually the first meeting of this council that we're, 4-year-old council that we're in now. That was the first face-to-face meeting that we'd had since the 23rd of March 2020, something like that. And because other legislation had been brought in, there was a little bit more flexibility as to what we could do, because our meetings were no longer public meetings. We were meeting on an online platform, and all of that interim legislation, all that emergency legislation has gone. We have a lot less flexibility. There is a scenario where, depending on how long it takes to get our ducks in a row as a council post-election, we could be looking potentially at July before we have a meeting date in the calendar for this that follows the 30th of April. We're currently looking at the possibility of a working party being formed.
It's never
with
been a problem
named
before.
members.
We've always carried, the committee has just gritted its teeth and those of us who
I
are
think
still here have
in
carried on.
2017, we're probably going to be doing much more of what happened in 2017, which predates my time here. It would be a working party, and we might have to be selective about what applications. We can meet here. We would not be having public meetings, but we are in the process of firming this up at the moment. So really, there is no need to vote on this recommendation. That's already going ahead. That will form part of the agenda of your annual town meeting, should you still be part of this council.
Right, just make a couple of points. Firstly, I think it's imperative that planning in particular gets up and running as soon as possible. But in contrast to that, I do think that to have rollover interim arrangements, I think, is risky because we do operate on a democratic mandate. And you could argue that the makeup of the room here is dependent on what the electorate says. So there's two things, and they almost conflict with each other. So firstly, we've got to get a move on because planning rolls on and it's just like a juggernaut. But secondly, we've got to do it right because we have to respect the fact that we are elected members.
I think we've raised the issue now. It's up to the clever people. Sorry, Sarah, you wanted to say?
Yeah, I mean, talking to Andy today, the next full council meeting after the election is the July meeting, and that's when the committees are sorted. So it's it will have to be a temporary measure for that time period.
We've never had to wait that long before. I mean, I've been doing this since 2003, and we have never had. But there's likely to be more. Sorry, Nick, in a moment. We've never had probably the turnaround that we might get this time. But
You appreciate the sensitivity.
yeah, yes, yeah, I do. Sorry, Nick.
Could we not, if we were to all, like for example, if your planning committee were all to be put back on, could we not run temporarily as the planning committee we are now?
You couldn't. You wouldn't, because unfortunately things such as terms of reference don't carry over. They all have to, all of this stuff has to be agreed again. It is, the word clunky springs to mind when I think about Local Government Act 1972, which is what is going to govern all of this. So all of that has to be agreed. And in some respects, it's about how quickly newly elected councillors get their own ducks in a row, get their papers back to the documentation they have to fill in, how quickly they get that back to the office, so that everybody is in a position where we can then form a new council. So as an interim, it's the likelihood, I don't want to carry this on too long, as a likelihood we may be able to have a working party of named members, obviously people who are experienced in the planning committee, and we would look to operate not as a committee but as a working party, making those recommendations. And I think at the end of it, if I remember correctly, it will all have to be ratified at the end. We would be doing the same job, but there will be some significant differences.
Problem is that even in the normal run of things, I mean, we've been lucky recently, in normal run of things, you get so many applications that if you leave them 6 weeks, the number you're going to get is going to be out of control. And secondly, I think people may try and aim for the interregnum. It's a lot easier to go as like they do at Christmas. You know, it's just, I don't want to be cynical with applicants, but it's anyway. We've raised the problem. They can go with.
But the town clerk is very much, he has the full understandings of this, and he is on the case with it. Okay.
Said enough on that particular issue. We'll see what happens next. Right, so minutes. We have the minutes for the 4th of February. Anybody, you're proposed, everybody seconded, anybody got any problem with them? Show of hands to support. Thank you. Yeah, but it's not, they're nice and short.
Sorry, you proposed for a second.
Yes, Sarah proposed, I seconded. Everybody waved their hands, right. Any matters arising? Right, I don't know if you want to, you're just watching, you don't want to actually say anything? Okay, fair enough. You are very welcome. So that's it. Are you an elector of Newquay, by the way? Sorry? Are you an elector of Newquay? Yes. There isn't. Well, that's good. Right, so do we have any, we're flying, active consultations?
Yeah, no, we did, and because the deadline is the 21st, I thought we'd set about having a look at agreeing the draft response before I actually send it off. So I've got a couple of days in which to send it off. I thought I would just bring it to the meeting. So the draft response is Newquay Town Council accept that recent changes to the NPPF will inevitably impact the weight that can be given to housing supply policies described within the neighbourhood plan. Similarly, the list of policies that will still carry weight, and I've listed some of them, site allocations, principal residence, design policies and local green spaces, is welcomed. However, the Town Council would argue that coastal change policies should also be added to this list. In terms of Newquay Neighbourhood Plan, this would include the following, and then I've listed our coastal management policies. Councillors understand that cliff protection and coastal change policies were not subject to the recent NPPF changes and feel this should be clearly reflected in the Council's interim policy position statement. That's what I drafted. Are you happy for me to send that off? Tomorrow for you.
Yeah, and we're all waving.
Yeah. Lovely.
Form the future of the Cornwall local plan. Call for sites, that's, why has this come out? Oh, the website, so I've jumped past, sorry, I thought it was a briefing note. I've gone to the wrong agenda item apparently. Tell me about the briefing note.
Okay.
Or is it just an introduction to the call for sites?
It's really about I'll bring up the call for sites map.
That's the interesting one.
Yeah. Sorry, I just need to. Oh, not that one. There we go. So I did a screenshot of Newquay, but
Has everybody seen this? Yeah. It's worth fighting your way through the various clicks to get to it.
so yeah, so this map is showing the land that has been sort of suggested, put forward for development as part of this call for sites that's all wrapped up with the future of the Cornwall local plan. Okay. So in my notes, I've said, having read through the briefing notes several times, my understanding is that it's quite unusual for a local authority to seek feedback from towns and parishes at such an early stage of considering sites for development. And Cornwall Council certainly aren't looking for support or objections at this point. But they say they are looking for responses to 4 different questions. And I mean, but without kind of preempting how you decide, if you decide to respond to this or not, because this isn't a statutory consultation, I do wonder whether we're in a position really to respond to these. The first one is, do we think the sites that have been submitted have the potential to come forward in the next 3 years?
Right. Can we just clarify what the various colours are? The new ones are the blue ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want me just to have the...
Just the blue ones, please.
The new ones, yeah.
Yeah. So some of these are anticipated. There's that little banana in the middle is the one that's been talked about for years as an exception site by Bedowan Meadows.
The little banana.
No, actually, no, it's not. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong place. It's the little banana, the middle banana. I think, is that Bedowan Meadows?
Top of Leader Road.
Yeah, it's, yeah, that's
Top
that.
of Leader Road there, yeah.
That's sort of running behind Bedowan Meadows, that one.
But
The one to the right. Can you go down a bit? So we start from the bottom up.
can I just ask a little context? Sorry. When we say these are sites that are, I don't know, submitted, does that mean they're currently green space? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole of the sort of Newquay and locality, we had to call it and locality, it was in the strategy map as allocated for development. So if you look at the bottom, that large chunk of blue is not in our parish, and that is all the stuff that's heading towards Crintral Downs. Now, we know more or less about that. The little sort of moon shape to the left is actually the fields going down to that Prow Park site. I wish this had been out, because that was my argument, is where the woods are is a clear place where you need sustainable drainage. And those fields are going to be developed. That was what I was saying. And that's what that one is those 3 fields coming down to the railway.
Towards Cornwall Council's, whatever it is, 5,000-6,000
Yes,
allocation.
what they're
Right.
looking to do is to allocate. But I have a number in mind, which I won't say. I have a number in mind of what they're going to allocate us.
But how does that balance against extension of properties in Newquay? Because there's considerable opportunity for a second floor or a third floor.
Yeah, that will be there as well. Because what I think is going to happen is, what is not going to happen is that Newquay have had a target of and locality had a target of 4,400, and on their last estimate in mid-23, they reckon we were going to hit 6,000. What is not going to happen is they're not going to say, well done, Newquay, you've done your bit, let's allocate all these extra houses to other towns. It isn't going to happen. It's going to be allocated to us like any supermarket selling anything. So we are going to be hit by a whole load of extra, or rather the surrounding countryside is going to be hit
Well,
by a whole lot of allocated sites.
Yeah, I don't have a concern with housing. We all want housing here, but there's walkable town. It's a fantastic town with a train station, a bus stop, shops.
They're not interested.
Why are we not
if
building up
somebody
in the town?
That isn't going to provide the extra 2,000 or 3,000 that I reckon is coming in Newquay's
I had this question in another meeting. What is the definition of a house built?
It's a unit. It's a residential
Meaning,
unit.
if you
Yes,
build
there
a
are
second
there's
flat
probably
on your
room
property, that
there's
doesn't count.
probably room for a couple of hundred to do what you're wanting to do. They are talking about allocating thousands more to us, which is where these houses come. So you've got that big lot. I always forget what the name of the road is, but up to Quinchell down at the bottom.
Yeah,
What
that's there.
what?
So this is at the top of Leader Avenue.
This is the
No, Darren Meadows is down here.
Is that one? Is the Ballow Meadows? I beg your pardon.
Meadows. So that's the top of Leader Avenue.
Which is not
This
huge.
one is not in your parish, this is in Colne, but I find it very low because it's a really steep slope there, because that's by the holiday park. So these are the ones which are duchy land at the back of...
Can you expand
Porth.
that? Because that looks to me like right down the Porth Valley.
Yeah, so this is...
Yeah,
so
I'm worried
this
about
is
those.
The Porth Valley, and again, it's quite a steep slope on there. And, and this is going to be... concerned about is like on the floodplain, because this is the holiday park along here.
Yep.
So slightly alarming areas that they've chosen with, you imagine a housing estate going in here when this road is going to potentially be non-existent.
Yeah, Trevelgie Road will be there. So they're looking at...
It's a very narrow road. Yeah, Duncan.
But yeah, I mean, sorry, Duncan.
I just wanted to make sure. I think the attachment that you've got on IBABS shows this map, and it shows. I tried to show that a couple of these sites have actually been double booked, if you like. So they are both down for residential and commercial, or residential or commercial. I'm not really certain which. These two sites here. All of the others are just residential, but these ones seem to have sort of a duality to them. They could be one thing, they could be another.
These are the ones I'm most worried about. And that's the one that will, I mean, at the moment we've got settlement boundaries. If you go up to Tugurian, there's a little one up by Tugurian. I think that's probably the one where we said they couldn't have two houses. There's one quite close to Tugurian, isn't there?
There is, back in there,
yeah. So, I mean, we've got sort of, well, one of the things they say that you can't have settlement boundaries anymore, but we've got settlement boundaries around Tregurian. Oh, I thought there was one on the other side. Obviously not. I've got carried away. And we currently wouldn't like that. And then we've got round Whipsonderry, and that's obviously they're coming in with some really quite large bills. Otherwise, I don't know anything about the one that's in Colne, so I'll take your word for it. What's that banana shape? That's
the top of Leader Road. So that butts on to Priory Wood, of course, which we own.
Yeah. I've always wondered, there's an awful lot of green that hasn't been developed.
So I presume, this is owned by...
MOD?
No, it's the houses here. This is Duchy. That little Duchy field, that's part of Trewallock Farm. He farms that.
And they're not going to develop that. So
interestingly, the houses that are on the right-hand side here of Lead Road are not MOD houses anymore. They've been bought. These are the MOD on the left-hand side in the infill here.
So can I go through what this consultation is actually asking?
I don't think
because
I would commit myself to anything.
I'm not certain that we can, how, in what sort of position we are to answer these. They aren't looking for support. They aren't looking for objections at this phase. They are saying, do we think the sites that have been submitted have the potential to come forward in the next 3 years.
Come forward mean, thank you.
Be developed. Be developed,
Submit
come
planning
forward
permission.
for development. And I mean,
Do we think they should be?
I'm not, no, it's not if it should be. They're not looking, do you think it can or it can't? Who can answer that question in this room?
Do you think the landowners are going to like you to go ahead with permission of that? So this one, this one here has had two properties that have come up on the market, plots of land where the barns were by the road. The sales have been agreed, and they are to plan permission for two houses each in a 1/4 acre site up the hill, and they're 3-bedroom houses, a distance, detached houses. So they're not going to be, for the whole of that field, which is a very steep slope. Even if they went for that, they're only going to get about 20 houses on that site because of the low density that they've already put in for and accepted at the moment. So I don't.
All the parish councils.
Yeah.
And we can't really comment on stuff that isn't within our parish.
So I mean, I don't think this is likely because it's on a floodplain.
Yeah, it's worth saying that. Is we say, have you taken into account that the land south of Trevelgy Road is a floodplain?
Yeah.
So that's a lot. I don't think we can comment on the stuff that's going up the road because none of that is in our boundaries. The line you've got there is our boundary, isn't it?
So they do have, and it's not really showing up on that one. There is a little blue patch by the railway line, the back of Tolkien Road. So they've got as current ones. No, if you beam in, because I'm looking at it online. No, if you go up to the railway line, follow the railway to the station, to the railway station.
Up a bit.
Yeah. Okay, it's not coming up on yours because it looks like it's blue on mine.
But this is not.
Okay.
This is not the most up-to-date one he's showing us. Where is it?
Yes, that green. No, the green one. Oh, because with mine it looks blue.
The green means something different.
Yeah.
So the green ones are sites
already designated, don't they?
Strategic.
Not necessarily. They can. Is it the yellow ones? That's what we were looking at 2011, and they had that big where they were boiling the centre of Newquay, and they've still got it marked as a 2011 bid, but it never happened.
Okay.
It was going. They were going to develop the Marcus Hill and St George's Road and put a multi-storey car park, and that died. Sorry, Joe.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make the point. I think the flood issue, I think we could point out. I don't necessarily think that this should be part of the parameters of the question. I think the question is confusing. I don't know why they're asking. I don't know what.
There is a question. Can we flag any particular risks or issues that we may think may impede delivery?
Okay, so that's in that case, then we could probably be as helpful as we can by pointing out the flood issue that we've just previously discussed. But I think can I just finish my point? So the specific question I think you opened with, Duncan, was can we comment on whether they're going to be brought forward? And I don't think we can answer yes, I don't think we can answer no, and I don't even think we can answer we don't know. I think and even no response, I think, says something, doesn't it? I think perhaps, is it worth naming the fact that we don't understand the purpose of what we're being asked and why?
Well, I think they're trying to ascertain further local knowledge, and it might be that something like this is maybe more useful when it comes to some of the smaller parishes. But in terms of Newquay, I don't think we're in a position to be able to say, could this come forward in the next 3 years? I don't think we're in a position to be able to say, could any of the sites come forward ahead of our next neighbourhood plan or the next local plan? And the final question is, are we aware of any further land that should be considered?
Well, it is a very large land around Newquay. What we've actually said is all of the parish of Newquay around the town, plus we want any affordable exception sites to be around the barrier of the town. Those two sites, well, really, there's very little in our parish that's in there. The blue ones in our parish are the only ones, the only significant size ones, are the one in Leader Road and the two up around Trafalgar Road, and we've got a real concern. That does breach our neighbourhood plan. The one in Leader Road doesn't. But the one in the one up by the little one up by Gregorian, and the one at both of those breach our neighbourhood plan because of the settlement boundary. However, we're not expecting the settlement boundaries to survive, but we are concerned about the floodplain implications of the Trafalgar Road developments.
And just note also, and then future access with the danger to the road going.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be cut off.
I'd strongly support those 2 points on, I think, many residents of the town keep highlighting the flooding issues. I think we need to speak up on that and use any opportunity like this to keep speaking up on that. And that is where we do have a bit of local knowledge. Secondly, your point on the roads and access. Thirdly, the point on invite you to identify, so question 4, essentially, we invite you to identify land which has not yet been put forward to the call for sites. I would like to, on that point, say we would encourage support for densification in the town. This town already in summer has traffic jams, which I have driven past for 15 minutes of cars trying to get into the town. So, we need to sort of support, and that's because people are driving because they're staying all around rather than taking the train or something.
I wouldn't want to see lots of applications to build 3 or 4 story blocks in the town.
Sure, but we have plenty of
use of existing
commercial
we
could work on some wording on that together, absolutely. But I think, even if you just walk down the road here, there's one property next door which has built a flat on the back, looks fantastic, looks like people are loving living there. Next door building hasn't been looked at for 30 years, has the same opportunity for centralised housing. And whilst I understand that this consultation is targeting land, again, let's use any opportunity we can to try to protect those green spaces around Newquay, even if you're quite right that the numbers are, but we've just got to keep speaking up.
I don't think there's any harm saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
With sort of making use of housing or buildings that aren't being used to their full
Duncan,
potential.
for this one, I would appreciate if you could email the draft to us, please, and we could help on that wording, because this is something I feel we get a lot of residents talking about their access to green space, things like that. The March. So yeah, we've got a little bit of time.
There is, I don't know if we mentioned it later on, but there is a training session coming up again in about 10 days' time, is it, Duncan? On the call for sites, so it'd be worth everybody going along to listen to that and hear the same sort of brief, but you never know, it might come up with something useful.
I understand what the training's about. Thank you. Great catch. Thank you.
So yeah, that seems a fair request. If you could knock something up. I mean, I don't think we're going to be sending War and Peace on this one. Just seeing cooperative. If you could send that round, and we've got at least a fortnight, haven't we, to respond to it.
Yeah, I mean, Cornwall Council have given a caveat at the start of this, saying that usually this sort of consultation doesn't take place so early in the call for sites process. So I think they know that they're going to be, there's probably going to be a limit to how much is going to be fed back to them anyway.
There's at least one site there which I'm surprised hasn't come up, but I'm not going to mention what it is.
Yes, I know.
Well, it could not be the same one, but yes. Pools. Yeah. But that was always going to be an exception site for affordable housing. So, and I think that's what we're going to lose, whereas where we're saying round our boundary, which is quite widely set, and it doesn't mean to say we won't accept housing opportunities, but we want them to be led by affordable housing. I think the danger is that they're so desperate to hit this huge number that there'll be market housing rather than affordable. So I would probably want to comment. We want to maintain the ability to have exception sites, around our boundary that are affordable.
That's a fantastic
left.
point. Yes, as a fourth point, to keep stressing the need for affordable, well, truly affordable housing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And actually, sorry, I think at a fifth point, we need to raise our point that we keep raising about dentist GPs access in this town. That's something residents struggle with.
Nothing that I know of where they are improving services to go with the. I mean, we can say it,
speaking up,
we
as you say.
repeated it about 5 times in our commentary, but there is nothing in the current legislation that says you've got to have NHS doctors, nurses, dentists. There's nothing. You're just going to get extra housing, because even though these things are not in our parish, they are going to be using our services, and our services can't cope already.
So that could go in the risks, Duncan.
Yeah, not that it's going to make any difference, says she cynically.
Yeah, okay, so I will try and put some words together and I'll email it round to you. I mean, perhaps you ought to agree it at the next meeting, because you've got time, but so we've got sort of a couple of weeks to work on it, and I'll email that round to people, and I just need a proposer and a seconder in place.
So, do you want to take us through this one, Duncan?
Yeah, certainly. I'm just going to. I thought just going to take us to it on the map. I thought I'd bookmarked it and I haven't. So you'll just. Oh no, there we go. Street trading, Cheltenham Place. There we go. Okay, so street trading application received by Cornwall Council for Cheltenham Place. It's an application to trade from a small table and 2 chairs and an umbrella for shade. They're looking at effectively occupying space that's 4 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot. They are looking to trade May to September, so the season, if you like. They're looking to do a Wednesdays to Fridays, so 1, 2, 3 days a week. And they're looking to trade from 10 till 4, and the articles applied for, it's handmade beaded jewellery, silver and chains.
It's fairly unusual because it's not sort of some sort of restaurant or cafe or something like that. That's what we usually get for street trading. So this is
it's not a now we do we do see a lot of traders doing this kind of thing, just turning up and doing it. So I mean, in some ways, this applicant has to be applauded for the fact that they're going through the correct channels. Really, the key, our sort of kind of key issue, is usually, is it going to cause an obstruction to the public highway? That's probably the main issue with these people.
It looks in the diagram like they want to be in front of the NatWest, sort of on this side of the NatWest, in front of the now animal store, which, if we compare to, as you said, Duncan, across the town, I mean, it seems as though other vendors haven't found it a problem to have tables in front of their stores, so I presume there's no. But to compare, when you come through the rest of town, it's walkable rather than cars. And my only immediately concern is just, as you said, Duncan, the sort of safety of the vendors themselves. But if I mean, it's on the footpath, and in fact being beside a. Yes, and being beside a cash machine makes me slightly nervous as someone who uses that. It's not these people, but the idea of somebody permanently being beside a cash machine is a little bit unnerving. But in principle, of course, we want to see the vendors.
That's a bit more like it. Where do those trees come from? Right.
They have always been there, you know. They're quite mature. I think
So is she talking Cheltenham Place or is she talking by the postbox?
Going back to, where's that drawing on?
It's just on the second page. So she's sort of opposite the Costa, so that's by the NatWest, basically.
Yeah, so it's
it's a bit vague, that.
maybe even,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I mean, they aren't,
It's a
to
very
be honest,
big table and
they
chairs, isn't
aren't,
it?
they aren't going to be given a pitch. This has to be
area.
considered indicative.
Right.
If you apply to, as many traders have done, applied for Esplanade Road, it is Esplanade Road. It's not here, it's not there. It tends to be, it's where you can get in. And this, to be honest, this applicant might have that issue because she might find that she turns up and there's somebody there already.
Yeah.
She will have no right to.
She needs to
that
be
space.
careful she doesn't block
Yeah,
the
agree.
payway. But
In
other than that,
principle,
in principle, I'm fine
if you're
with it.
down through the centre, wherever the other tables are, great, because there's a lot more space.
It's not a very big space she's asking for. That's bigger than you think it is there. So,
She's going to come along and she's going to have. And
Let's go through there, yes.
it's the start.
But she's actually got it in the front here in the corner, not up in Cheltenham Place, if you look where the box is. And it's where the bollard is here.
Oh, okay, you think it's there, sure. I thought it was between the NatWest and the postbox, Sarah, in the drawing.
It's more this, but if you go back
But-
and look at it, it's not on Cheltenham's ground.
It sounds, from what you're saying, Duncan, that we're not approving the location, we're just approving, does this person seem a reasonable street vendor?
I don't think it works, Nick. It's a nice idea.
Duncan, is that correct? Oh, sorry.
Right in thinking that in principle we don't have a problem, but she will have to be very careful that she doesn't block the pavement, doesn't block the access to the post box. We don't. I assume the post box is still there. Sorry, Joe.
May not be the time to start. Practice outside the room.
Okay, so I mean, I understand that it's quite unusual, as you said, because street traders, if I'm not mistaken, they have the right to trade on the streets. Is that right?
Peddlers have a right, but they can't stop. So street traders have to get a licence.
Okay.
And that's what this is all about. And she's obviously, she's got her idea. She's going to wander along. She's going to park in a car park. She's going to wander along with a table and two chairs, set out her wares.
Yeah.
Somewhere on this, and I've sold things for cancer research there, and honestly, it wasn't a problem.
My only concern is that I think it's very important that we give clear feedback that says this is indicative, because I'm worried that she's going to turn up and say, oi, this is my pitch, and there's someone there already for whatever reason, and then there will be an argument. Okay, so I think we need to just say exactly what we're granting her if we do approve this.
And licensing will have explained to her that if she wants to trade, as she describes, she needs a street trading consent, but that isn't a pitch. And somebody else can sit there. Licensing will have explained that to her, and it is in all of their guide to policies and procedures that she will have had to have looked at in order to have done this application in the first place.
Is this one of these things, if we make a comment, they have to have a committee meeting on it?
No, but I mean, it seems to me that you're going down the road of you would be happy with this, but you, what am I trying to say? You just want to be, you just want everybody to be aware that she mustn't be causing an obstruction, and and that this isn't an actual pitch that she's buying. But she will know that anyway.
But I mean, I'm happy to propose approve. But I would like that comment in there, because I think to a certain extent we need as a committee to make sure that we were dealing with absolute clarity here. I don't want this coming back to us.
Principle, we support.
Nick, thank you. I would say that street trading, there's a wide range of consultees. We are but one, and highways are often, in cases like this, highways are often the arbiter of whether it's acceptable or not, because they're quite protective about keeping the flow of people and traffic going. I think she is, yeah. Yes, no, absolutely.
So, what's next on the agenda?
Did you want to ask the gentleman if he wanted? You sure?
No. He just wanted to see. This is the sort of discussion. This is the sort of discussions we have. I mean, we're inclined to support, but we just want to make quite sure it's safe. Right. So, if we can then go on to the next. Oh, are we on the applications now? Oh no, previous planning applications. Do we have any 5-day protocols?
Yeah. So you've got the 2 Proud Park. The 2 Proud Park applications.
Oh yes.
Both of them to do with, one was the modular housing unit, and I'm sorry if they appeared very similar and only slightly different from each other, but that's just, they both came in at the same time. One referred to the modular housing unit that was delivered and put in place and is already on the site without any permission, and the other one, so that was a retrospective one, and the other one is the 16-unit block that was permitted many years ago for the German film crews, which is no longer being used by the German film crews. Both have been argued by the applicant will be set aside for key workers, NHS staff, teachers, and lovely things like that. You've with regard to the German film crew housing, I had 4 responses. You all chose to maintain your objection. With regard to the modular units, I had 5 responses. You all chose to maintain your objection. And then I returned that to Cornwall Council. Then there was a non-material amendment to do with some relatively minor landscape changes, would you say, Sarah, at the Hotel California. I had 4 councillors respond. The majority of you chose to support, and we included a comment about exploring opportunities for high levels of environmental sustainability to do with the watering, and I made sure that got in there.
So all we're doing here is actually.
You're just saying the process was followed.
Everybody happy? Right. Okay. Show of hands.
You'll find, I think that non-material amendment has been approved. I think it's on the decision list actually. Anyway.
Right. I think, are you doing them all, Duncan? I've been good, because I wasn't well enough to actually volunteer to do anything, but I've. We've already passed something that says they want to change it into an individual residence. And now we've got the sui generis.
And that has been approved and is on the decisions list. So,
yes.
so very swiftly, an application went through the planning process for this guest house to be have a change of use so that it is reverts to being a single dwelling. And that has been approved. But it was strange because we had these 2 sort of going in tandem. So, Yeah.
So this is an application by the company.
This is the original one that we've seen.
Yeah.
This is about the third time that we've seen
And we've
this, I think.
said, no, why has it come back to us?
No, right. So, no. I think, so the background to this is that we last saw this application back in August last year, when the committee agreed to raise no objection, with the applicant having addressed most of the concerns that were raised against the previous withdrawn application. The withdrawn one, I think, wanted 10, it was using buildings, outbuildings that shouldn't have been given over to accommodation. So yes, and as I say, we saw an application for this address as recently as January, and that's the revert back to a single dwelling, and that has actually been approved. I don't think we need to have too much of a recap. I had a quick chat with the officer about this one. She said what they're doing, the changes for this current application now include the maintained verge with red line and added to new street trees. Basically, they were converting the front garden into parking, and they've firmed up the arrangements around that, because one of the problems that I think we pointed out last time was that there was a tree in the way. So,
yeah. And that's one of the things, that's why that was raised with me today, because the application now is to get rid of the tree and replant somewhere else.
I hear the history, and I recall a lot of this history, but when I click on the link to the planning application summary, it says change of use to HMO accommodation, but you keep saying single dwelling.
Okay, so there were two applications. So originally, going back to quite early last year, we had a change of use from a guest house to an HMO, and that really did over-egg what they were trying to achieve, and that was withdrawn. It got a lot of objections, and that was withdrawn, and it was replaced by this current application. And the first time we saw this current application, they'd addressed a lot of the issues. They'd reduced the number of people who would be in the accommodation, and they had proposed creating parking at the front. And then, out of the blue, in January, we saw a completely separate application, same property, to revert for this guest house, to revert not to an HMO, but to a single residential dwelling, which we were quite happy with and which has been passed.
Okay. But that was by the owner of the house. This is by a company who wishes to buy the house from the owner.
I think the situation is...
The application I'm looking at and the documents we've been provided say change of use to HMO. That's what we're being asked to approve.
No, because what I think is
that's what it literally
that's the
says
older.
here.
What's happened is there's some new stuff going in about trees, because the application they tend to sort of use the same title as something, because we've already said we could accept it as a change of use, but it's because there's some papers there that arrived in January.
So effectively, last time we saw this application to change from a guest house to an HMO, we raised no objection, but there were enough issues around the parking at the front for it to need a little bit more work on it. So we're looking at that little bit more work. That little bit more work is, can you see this red dotted line? There's what they refer to as an immature tree in that space at the moment. So if you put the front garden, which is a gravelled front garden, in fact, let's have a let's do the street view just to help our understanding. The immature tree has not been planted at this point, by the way, but it's this grey section of wall here, and there is effectively a tree that sits. Oh no, it is there. There it is. There it is. You can just see in there. Sorry, I thought it was a lamppost. It isn't. It's a tree.
Rather nice balustrade.
So yes, so the balustrade will largely go, and what they want to do is to remove the the immature tree, which would be right in the pathway of any vehicles that wanted to access this parking in the front garden, and they want to replace it with a tree on either side. So if we go back to that plan, there's your immature tree that we've just looked at, and these two are the trees that would replace.
Is that for an HMO or a single dwelling? Because what's written
The
here...
single dwelling, don't even think about it.
Forget about it.
It's been
Okay, thank you.
approved.
That's
Don't
my
even
point.
think about the single dwelling. It was that just flew through the planning process. This is for the HMO. There was the single dwelling wasn't doing anything with the parking at all. But this
My
needs
question
to
is,
provide.
why has this come back to us for something that's
Because they've
relatively
changed the
minor?
plans, Joanna.
Ah, but it's not significantly changed.
No, 'cause
The officer feels it's significant enough to
So this
reconsult on
moving the
it.
tree is considered significant enough to ask us
Yeah.
about it again.
Yeah, because they weren't going to move the tree before. It's going to be a side access to the right-hand side of it to go in. They're making it a central one, because I presume they're going to be dropping the curb, and there's going to be the loss of parking spaces there.
Right, so has anybody gotten a problem with this? So they've got a new location plan, is what we're saying, a new bulk, we've got a new block plan.
A new block plan that just makes a better array. I think we'd probably agree that it's a
Shame
better
to use the
arrangement
balustrade, but it's
for-
not protected.
Yeah.
So what are we going to say? No objection? Joe?
Can I just say, look, I think it is relevant that it comes to this because it's about the removal of a tree. And it's an immature tree, but you imagine a scenario where they thought, well, we don't need to consult us if the tree's an issue. So I think it's good that it's come here.
Yeah.
But having said that, I like the fact that it's replaced with two.
Yeah. Because they're, according to the block plan, they're putting them in the far corners. I assume that's what they are.
Councillor Thompson's point, there will be a little bit of greenery loss, and what's currently a sort of a yard garden, I think, with the white sort of fence along the wallish along the front, elegant white wall along the front, will, as Councillor Thompson says, have a driveway going in. There'd be that last loss of parking. So, yes, I mean, no problem again to approve, but I would love if we could have a statement, please, saying we regret the loss of greenery and parking, but we understand that it's creating more housing.
That's not what it's...
No,
it's
I don't think we can do that.
It's already been agreed with the HMO.
No, but you're saying the parking in
The
front.
entrance is just shifting for the car parking area from the right-hand side to make it central.
Okay.
It's going to be gravelled.
Well, that's the loss of greenery that I think
Yeah,
is
well, no,
regretful.
we're not really in a
but
position
anyway.
to, I mean, yes, we don't like loss of greenery, but we're not in a position at this stage to start making, I think we've made the comment
Suggesting to
earlier on.
object. I agree with the proposal.
We've made the
We've made
comment
that
already.
Previously, we have made that comment, but I think basically this is the last thing that the officer wants to see before she can say, yeah, I think.
And then
we
they
are
can
now
fight
ready
it
to
out
do
about whether
this.
they have it as a single home or whether they have, because there's nothing to stop two planning applications being passed on the same
I
site.
mean, they've got 3 years in which to decide. If they both got approved, they've got 3 years in which to decide: is it going to be a single dwelling or is it going to be an HMO?
Well, he's looking to sell the site. He's covering himself, isn't he?
Yeah, I
The
propose
HMO.
no objection.
Yeah, I'll second that.
So we know when to raise. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, all in favour?
Yes, thank you.
Nick's abstaining. I don't know if you picked that up.
I actually used to live in that house, so I can tell you all about it.
Right.
It's my childhood home.
Really?
Yeah, my childhood home. Was that
Well,
17?
Oh, it's lovely.
We've discussed this Trawinda Lodge so many times over this past year,
And I've missed it.
and you've missed every single one.
Yes.
Oh well. Anyway.
I feel as though I practically live there.
I did live there, it's 6 bedrooms.
Cute.
I was just counting them.
Oh,
Right. Dobbymore,
where is this?
if that's how you pronounce that.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, we've seen this too, yeah.
It's all on Flower Lane, I believe.
Yes.
Right. So it's this house. If that's the bowling green there, it's this house here.
Cool.
On the overhead. So you've got Wildflower Lane, and then just in that northeast corner, opposite that northeast corner of the bowling green,
So it's not on the main road?
Is Dobbin Moor, not on the main road, and you'll see that from the street view. Wildflower Lane. There's your bowling green, and obviously the road is off in that direction. So that's as good a street view as we've got of this. In terms of comments, South West Water have said no surface water strategy details were provided with this application. There is a little bit of background to this one, in that we saw a couple of applications for Dobbin Moor towards the end of 2021. Both were submitted at the same time. One was an outline application that sought to replace the existing property with 3 dwellings, so to demolish it, pull it down, replace it with 3 dwellings. That met with local objections and was withdrawn. I think we looked at both at the same meeting as well, because the second application was given permission, and that was for a number of extensions and alterations, including building a proper first floor to this building. It's a dormer bungalow. I think you can just possibly just about see the window there, but they're looking to build a proper first floor on it, and that did actually get permission. However, it looks as if that application was never acted upon, and by my reckoning, it would have actually that would have lapsed on Christmas Eve, in fact. So they're back to the drawing board. So, but yeah, it's useful to be aware that it has already been approved as effectively a proper 2-storey property once already. So just to show you the red line site and the vehicular access, which comes off Hillgrove Road in actual fact. So you haven't got cars driving down Wildflower, it comes off Hillgrove Road there. These are interesting plans because they look really old.
It looks very dated, doesn't it? But
yeah, and oddly, the plans that we'd seen previously were much more modern than these. So let's just.
So it's quite a big bungalow, 6 bedrooms.
Oh, that's a bit too big, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, that's the that's your sort of kind of site plan. Have a look at these elevations. So we've got one drawing that's just got the north elevation and some sectional drawings, and then the east, west, and south are all on another drawing. We'll look at the north elevation first, and excuse me while I just rotate these around. Just shove that over there a bit.
Is that the proposed? Yeah, that's existing. Oops. That's existing, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
So that's your existing north elevation. So that's the rear. So that's one that would be sort of facing towards the Hillgrove Road direction, and the proposed, as you can see, well, they're doing some interesting things with the roof. The dotted line indicates the height of the current gable ends and the existing sort of ridge height. So it shows the existing rear dormer, this quite small one here, being replaced with something noticeably larger. You can also see there's a modest increase, hopefully you can see that with the dotted lines, a modest increase in the overall ridge height. And on either side, alterations to the existing gables, making them much taller and steeper. So that's what and they're hipped roofs at the moment, and they're turning them into these gable-ended roofs, and they're much taller and much steeper. And then they've added these side dormers, which look quite unusual on this drawing, to be honest. But you can see there's side dormers that have been added. And as I say, the dotted line is the original roof shape. So we'll have a look at the other elevations. Bit of rotating to do here again, just bear with. And I'm just going to minimise that, and I want that big, and I want that big. Right, so that's your actually, we're going to start with the bottom drawing. That's the more interesting one because that's the front of the building. So again, you've got the dotted line showing the existing shape, and then, as you can see, we've got these gable ends rather than hipped roofs, and you've got the dormers on either side. The first two drawings are the side drawings, the side elevations, and these are where these proposed new dormers, which I think do look slightly strange when you just look at it as a flat drawing, but when you see them sort of on the correct elevation, they make a bit more sense, I think. These taller, steeper, gable-ended sections of roof, effectively they're rebuilding the whole roof, continue along the full length of the roof and end in a rear-facing gable. So it's adding quite a lot of mass to the building. These side, if we look at the existing again, you'll see that there are no first floor views. The permission that lapsed on Christmas Eve did include a condition. You've got on one side you've got 2 Tretheris Road, and on the other side you've got a property called the Glen, and a condition was put in place that said before first occupation or use of the development, the first floor windows on the east and west elevations shall be fitted with obscure glazing and shall not open further than 12 degrees. And that was to protect the privacy of the people on either side. Okay? I'll show you, we don't have a proposed first floor, and I'm presuming that that's because, proposed ground floor, and I'm presuming that's because there aren't going to be any changes. The proposed first floor.
Oh, I see. This is just the top first floor, is it?
Yeah.
That does make sense.
So, yeah, I mean, effectively, at the moment, they're just making use of a roof void space. So it's really just this middle part that would be that's being occupied at the moment. This new kind of steep gable-ended roof effectively makes a full new sort of floor on top of the house. Is that clear enough? Sorry, this is a bit of a bitty one. Does that make sense to everybody?
One, two.
I'm not certain about the downstairs because they've gone 1, 2, 3, 4 upstairs, yeah. as you say. I've a feeling that downstairs it's just internal changes that wouldn't need planning permission. They're going to have to make some changes, obviously.
The 4 bedrooms upstairs must have been pretty grotty. That's how they did it, wasn't it? They had they had 6 bedrooms.
The existing. I'll just bring up that again. We've got to rotating around, and the first floor is this one here. And as you can see, there was a couple of probably quite pokey roof rooms, and there was a games/bedroom upstairs. we don't really know what they're doing downstairs, and it might be that, as I say, they are just internal alterations that wouldn't require planning permission. But you're going from this sort of kind of quite small space upstairs to using the full footprint of the building, if you
What's
like.
important is what it looks like, and anybody got any problem with what it looks like? No, they're sort of behind trees, and
My only request would be the usual comment on could they consider solar panels, but
yeah,
I
I
have no
think
problem with
that's a good. There must be stuff in that, all of those multiple shapes. They could something.
water
Nick,
collection.
I'd rather go no objection, subject to, and then add what we had in before, the obscure glass.
yeah, if you want to propose that.
I do.
So seconded for no objection, Katie, and we'll just shove in obscure glass as before,
And note South West Water have said they haven't put in a
water detail, and the so every
If they
take
could
off your
consider solar
opportunity for
panels, thank you.
solar panels, whatever.
And the
And-
12 degrees, exactly as it was before.
Yep.
With the 12, no more than 12 degrees opening, I think you said.
So take the privacy about absurd. So, and obviously the comment about
Yeah.
renewables. So let's do a show of hands on that. Yeah, your show of hands, she said. Yeah, so basically there's everyone agreeing that. Right.
Yeah, strange how the drawings seem
Yeah,
so
yeah,
old.
odd, whereas if they've almost saved money.
Different
compared to
architect.
the
Oh, another-
last ones that we saw. Very strange.
Right. So application 3, another one with.
Oh, here, so 29 St George's Road. You'll remember this as soon as I show it to you. This is another 2024 application that has come back.
But everything is new.
So St George's Road, yep, it is. And I'll give you the background of it in a minute. So St George's Road, you did indeed. We'll have a look at the. This is the property in question. So this one right on the corner. Just in terms of comments, I just point out once again, no surface water strategy details were provided with this planning application. That's what South West Water responded. So back at the end of October last year, this committee objected to a proposed new room in the roof, a dormer window and a rear extension. Key concerns, and if you recall, we can see quite nicely along the side of this building as well. Key concerns were that the proposed wraparound dormer, so it wasn't just because it already has a dormer, it was going to wrap around the side of the building. Key concerns were that the proposed wraparound dormer would harm the appearance of number 29 and the wider street scene, as well as a loss of privacy to neighbouring properties. There were concerns about people on the other side of the road here, and I believe there is there I think that there's a public objection from somebody on St Mary's Road. Sorry, let me.
Comments 1, I assumed it was from the site office. No, right.
Application 2, application 3.
No, there's no public comments at the moment.
No, I know what it was. There was a public comment that appeared after we looked at it in October.
Right.
And it was from somebody on St Mary's Road who was concerned with the lack of privacy. So the only comment that I've seen on this application, this new application, is the South West Water one. But there were public concerns which kind of mirrored what we were worried about in this room back in October anyway. Anyway, that application was withdrawn and has been replaced by this one. So let's have a look at some plans.
Doesn't seem to change much from the back.
It's filled in. I got that right.
Yeah, there is an element of infill in it. Right,
It's quite similar to the
so
ones everyone's objected
another
to.
one that needs.
Well, that was the same form we objected on that one. 'cause there's-
Yeah, so that's basically just showing you the plot. Joanna's referring to an element of infill, and you can see that there's an opportunity for infill there.
That extends, doesn't
Oh, it does, yes, but that's where the infill would take place, just so that you're aware. I'll just zoom in on this a little. So, on the left-hand side, the grey footprint of the building. On the right-hand side, the proposal, and as you can see, the infill is filled in. Elevations. I'm going to do 3 lots of elevations for this because I think it's worth us reviewing what the withdrawn application, so that we can just gauge what has changed, really. Right, I'm going to make these a bit bigger. Hang on a second. Oops, not that one. There we go. Okay. So, the east elevation, east. Okay, so that's the existing property. This is what we looked at. This is the street face in front of the property. Yeah. So that's the existing. This is what not just us, but a lot of people were upset about last time. This is what I referred to as this wraparound dormer at the top, which we thought was going to completely spoil the property. This new application is looking at something a little more modest. So we've gone from that to that. Okay?
But also the big window view, yes.
Yeah. So if we now look at the let's look at the let's look at the
I did the street one because it's now got that huge gable window on the side.
You'd like to look at that one first. That's fine.
I think that one, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind what order we look at them in.
So from what there was no window there at all, now it's got that.
Yeah. So that's the existing. As you can see, it's a blank wall with very limited first floor views. Previously, this wraparound balcony was going to provide a lot of fenestration. Obviously, I guess hopefully getting glimpses of the sea from there. This new application, so this is the one that was withdrawn. This new one, you've got both a large window set into the gable. So that's kind of creating sort of new second floor views, and they've also got a sizable window in the side
so
of the
you
dormer.
can see from the front is going to have windows on either side from the look of it.
One triangle there.
It's not exactly matching the street scene, but all those windows are different.
And then we'll have a look at the rear of the dormer, if that's okay.
I haven't got a problem with putting something on the side.
I'm trying to figure out a way that AI can just do all this for me, but I'm not. So right, so that's your existing rear elevation. So the existing show there's a sort of 2-storey extension with a modest rear dormer. The previous had a rear ground floor extension, which is part infill, and with a balcony and terrace plus an additional floor to the existing rear extension. So on the previous, the existing rear extension goes upwards. And and you've got a remodelling of the dormer. That's the best way I could describe it. That's the dormer there, and you can just see it's kind of been.
And is this the current plan, or
this is what we looked at last time?
Wow.
And now, firstly, those are the flat roofs.
Yeah.
So we've still got the rear ground floor infill with a balcony and terrace, plus the additional floor on that pitched roof existing rear extension. And as you see, we've got flat roofs rather than pitched. So that's what we looked at last time. And that's it. Much the same footprint. The same kind of terrace. We'll have a look at the.
So you've showed you the row windows.
This is which is the one where people came in and did very similar developments.
St John's Road.
St John's Road. This is quite similar to that, isn't it?
Not a million miles off, I suppose. What do we got here? So we've got the existing. I'm just going to get rid of a couple of these for a second. Make a bit of space here. That's the existing floor plan. That's the proposed. We can make that slightly larger, can't we? Likewise with that one. So existing ground floor. So you can see the area that's going to be filled in there. Yeah, so that's been filled in, and then this is a patio. This is a patio area to the rear. With it does say that tiny red writing says that it's a patio, and it says outdoor kitchen / barbecue. I don't know that they'd actually need planning for that, to be honest, but it is noted in there. So you can see anyway the. At ground floor level, you've got this this element of infill, and taking the property back slightly. At first floor level, which is the bottom left-hand corner, the flat roof of that ground floor rear extension here creates this infill terrace area, so you can access that from a couple of the bedrooms. I think one of the things that we remarked on last time, maybe not in our comment, was the fact that you've got these sort of glass skylights that people would be walking across, which we thought was a bit exotic. And then at second floor level. So that's the existing at the moment. Obviously, there isn't really a second floor level apart from that sort of roof space at the front of the house. The second floor level, kind of the existing rear extension creates space for an extra bedroom, and the street-facing dormer creates more space at the front of the property. And in fact, apart from lacking a kitchen, that looks like almost like a dwelling unit in itself, doesn't it? But it doesn't have I should point out, it doesn't have a kitchen. It goes from being a 5-bed property to a 4-bed property, believe it or not. And that's simply because there are 2 bedrooms in that roof void at the moment, and they are combined.
To make a sort of master bedroom.
To make this, what I said, was almost like a dwelling unit in itself. Yeah, that's your application.
Can we see the street scene again, please? Right. So when you look at the roofs going along the top, the one next to it, they all have this top floor and they all have different. Can we go up St George's Road?
Yes.
So they all have, but that one there is quite big. Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
So effectively,
there was concern that wraparound was going to have a similar view to this, and this was generally thought to be a bit over the top, to be honest.
But it does set a precedent, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you go down the road again. So effectively, because that's there, and the one next to it is quite big as well. What does everybody think about that square dormer on the front? We'll do this in bits.
They're not getting rid of the.
It's that.
Yeah, no, they're getting rid of the top of the bay window, the pointed bit, and that they're all there on that. So yes, I do object to that.
Can we go back and look at the street scene again? Yes. So they've all got these wonderful bays.
And it's losing the top of the bay window.
We had this problem on Atlantic Road, if you remember. exactly the same problem. So we're not, I mean, I agree with you, I'm not happy with losing.
Because even the big dormer up the road still has the roof on the bay, doesn't it?
Can we go to the big one again, see what it's like?
What, this one up the road here?
Yeah,
Oh,
So it's lost it.
No, it's lost it.
yeah. I think it's a shame.
Yes, it has. It's got flat roof.
Yeah, it's lost that.
So they're basing it on this one, aren't they?
Yeah. So the precedent's been set.
Oh, I appreciate.
I still have concerns of the gable window
Right,
overlooking the neighbours.
so that's what the front is. Can we then look at the side? The side is just very blank. And what they're,
Yeah. When you objected last time, we started invoking the CSUS study. I think that must have
Yeah.
been you that you
Probably.
mentioned that.
because of the bay and the bay windows. But so the side is going to now have windows.
I presume the
Yes.
chimney's going.
Let's have a look again.
The chimney must be going if they're going to put a window there and the chimney rust effectively.
Yeah, the chimney's going. I don't find that too bad. So what we're seeing on the top is the side of the porch that they're putting on not the porch, the window they're putting on the front. I think they're keeping the pointy bit.
I mean, both these windows and these windows here are effectively still overlooking the windows on the property opposite. It depends where the comment came from on St Mary's Road, really, as to
But it's
where
quite.
the concerns were.
Can we
I
swing
mean, this
round?
terrace here is obviously, if we can swing round. So there's a first floor terrace going here, and it will be effectively the edge of it will be level with this
Yeah.
wall, I
Yeah,
think, won't it?
See,
And
opposite,
I
we've
think
got-
I'm assuming that this may be the house that was concerned that they would be overlooked.
They haven't got a lot of windows.
Can you just drive a smidge down St Mary's Road and look back? And turn it round.
Yeah, I mean,
that way.
that
So-
terrace is probably possibly...
So next door, so 2 doors up, they've got an extension, a flat roof extension going on at the moment. How they got away with that, I don't know, because it is going to be blocking the light out from this dwelling here and making it really dark. So if you can imagine that this is going to be built up, this little house in the middle with their outdoor terrace is going to be sandwiched. Their outlook is going to be gone completely.
But isn't there flat extension beyond where this extension is going to be, or have they?
It's going to be, because they're going to be losing this.
Yes.
This is going to be, and then higher, and flat roof, and extending out.
Yeah, that's
For
what I wasn't
here.
sure of. How far is that?
So blocking that out, and it's extending out to probably about the end of their grey decking area here.
Can we go back and have a check that on the plans?
So I think the outlook for that house next door between these 2 extensions is pretty grim now.
If I remember correctly, I think it might have been Joe actually that back in, whenever it was, back in October, raised concerns about the relationship between this.
I did as well,
Yeah.
Can we see the plans again, please, for that rear extension?
They don't show it in relation to its
You,
neighbour.
by plans, you mean the floor plan, yeah?
Yeah. No, I think And how far further is it extending than the original?
So this bit here is extending,
Yeah.
and this bit above is then below the original.
Oh, it's that
So-
way.
Yes, so it's extending into the backyard as well as having the infill along here.
Can we look at the
I think
elevations?
I think effectively the building in there,
Yeah.
so they've added that bit there.
So it's
Yeah.
not hugely extended.
No, it's not huge.
Can we see the elevations for that?
Yeah, sure.
So it isn't covering the whole of that patio.
So which view did you want?
Well, from the rear, this is from the side. So that's what it used to look like. So that's what they're proposing.
So that is the 2-story, so it's going to be much taller. And you can see just the outline of the gable from next door. But effectively this is sticking out beyond that. So their decking area is going to be parallel with the next door neighbour's decking area. As well as this wall is then going to be sandwiching in the dormer, their outlooks.
So you have a concern that the amenity of the house next door
Yeah.
is going to be affected?
Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, this is going to be taller. That window there, I presume, is going to be a bedroom window. You know, it's going to be sandwiched between these two extensions.
So you're concerned about lost privacy to this
Yeah.
existing
Yeah.
outdoor space?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. To which, whatever that is, I don't know how the numbers run on St George's Road, whether it's
There's a-
27 or
It's an
31.
odd.
Yeah.
It's 31.
31.
Yeah, it's 31.
Yeah. It goes up. Because the highest number's at the top.
Yeah.
Is it still going? It's going to be a flat roof or a pitch roof as it is at
It's
the
going to be a
moment?
flat roof.
Yes, it's going to be a flat
See,
roof.
this one's going to be a flat roof,
Yeah.
isn't it? 2 doors up.
So effectively, the precedent has been set.
And also the terracing will disappear at the moment.
Yeah, so the terraces, so we're going to have windows along the road here, and it's going to have the balcony above as well.
Yeah.
Which is
And
going to be
as
then
Nick
the
says,
same
this
height.
whole floor is going to go one up. So
And it's going to go one up. So, you know, these
terracing
skylights
back.
and that up there, it's going to have its outlook.
So are you revving up to make a
Yes,
recommendation?
I'm going to propose an objection to
Yeah.
this.
And are you okay with the front?
I can live with the front dormer,
Yeah.
but you see, I still don't like the side gable. I think
You've
the-
got a
the
problem with the side gable.
windows- Yeah.
So sorry, you're okay with the front?
Yeah, I think the front works.
Yeah, the
The precedent's been set.
Yeah,
I don't like it, but the precedent's been set.
Yeah, likewise.
I don't have a problem with the side, but you think it might infringe on the amenity of the house on the other side of the road?
Yeah, that and the
say
side
that.
windows from the dining area.
And we definitely don't like the back.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any advance on that? Anybody want to second it?
Propose no objection.
We
passed it
have
many
a proposal
times.
on the table, which we need to vote on first, which is, it doesn't have a seconder at the moment, but that
Is there a
was
seconder
to
for
object.
objection? I'll second it. I think it could be made to work, but I don't think it does at the moment.
It doesn't at the moment.
But this is exactly what your point is, that you want to be able to produce extra accommodation on the... Are you
Houses like this
scratching your head in
throughout town.
disgust, Joe, or do you want to say something? No, you were sort of...
Could I just,
And I'm abstaining as well because I can't make a decision.
In that case, I'm going to state my objection.
okay,
But
I mean, sometimes
think
it's-
I could be argued out of it.
sometimes it's the useful route to get a
Yeah,
better
yeah.
application, isn't it? You know,
We've got
at the end of the day.
sufficient
I don't think it's
one of those, I think, it's an objection which I
So my biggest concern is whether the people beside are aware of these plans.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all know that that process unfortunately seems to be imperfect. And I think your point, if it's a concern to them, is valid, but there are plenty of properties where they are already back verandas beside each other, and some people like that. So we don't know what those neighbours think. And
think it's worth saying objection. They can come back and say, no, you're quite... I mean, have we got enough to
rights.
maintain an objection, do you think, Duncan, now?
I think so, yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I
so.
don't answer with this either, so I'm going to agree.
Yeah, yeah, yes, so well,
And there's no water strategy. There we go. That's
No, well.
no such water strategy.
that's not our responsibility. But I think it is really interesting in the light of the ferocious arguments we've had against the one in St John's Road. And I think it's because there isn't the same problem between the neighbours at this point. Because there are, number one, and thing, they're quite different. They look downwards. So I think I think it's now 3 for objection, 2 One abstention.
Kate, what are you doing? You're abstaining too?
No, you're not supporting the objection, that's fine. I think this one will be a one that's come back, and they will come back and, yeah, reassure us on the various points we've made.
Maybe with, yeah, a tweaked and better improved application.
It's the third time. It does cost people money to do these applications, I think, as well. And this is just a residence. So, you know, that's on the table for me. I don't know the people. I have no idea who lives there. And I've walked past that property many times.
Right, can we carry on to the next one, because we've done that. I mean, I've driven past it many times, but I always notice it. So, where are we now? Number 4, recladding of east and south elevation walls in blue to match existing west elevation. That's PA 25/00599. Oh, the Blue Reef Aquarium. Why does this do?
Passed there the other day, and
Oh,
some of
it's
those
looking pretty.
balustrades they're not just a cut hazard. The Jolyon referred to them as a loser digit. It's like the tubular steel that makes the balustrades for the steps that you go down, that go past. They've got holes in them. You could have your hand on it, and you could literally, a thumb could go into that hole. If you carried on moving, I think he's taken it back to Cornwall Council, isn't he? We were actually horrified. I'm not certain. Anyway, it isn't part of this, but I guess the point being made is that it is all a bit tired down there, and it does need some work doing. From the description, we can see that much of the proposed works are aimed at improving the exterior of the building. The main sort of kind of addition is this external dining terrace that they want to put in place, which sounds a nice place to dine, to be honest. There, so that's your. I can't believe you said that. Oh my God. I hope they're not.
I repeat for the mic, I said you could have fresh octopus from the
seafood restaurant.
Yes.
You could just pick it from the tank, couldn't you? Pick it fresh from the tank, like when you're on holiday.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite the idea.
The committee with a sense of humour. Right. So that's just to give you an idea of the full red line application site. We've got block plans here. Oh, I keep pressing the wrong button. There we go. Let's have a look at these. What did I say about these? View them at 100%. That's the could that be a bit bigger? Yeah. So that's your existing sort of zoomed in block plan. The proposed, you will see. Scroll across. You'll see obviously this doesn't reflect the changes to the exterior materials, but you've got an aquarium without an external dining area, and you've got an aquarium with an external dining area. Okay. We have a design and access statement. Something has gone very, very wrong with it. Something, it's just absolute. Who knows what has happened. We got some nice pictures of the sorry state that the building is in at the moment. The existing patent glazing, the gutter that is located at the top of the glazing is unable to be cleared without specialist equipment and personnel. Oh, there you go. That wasn't a complete waste of time. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, the building, I walked past it on purpose the other day, and it is looking quite tired. So I think the external changes to the external cladding are probably quite welcomed. Elevations of the dining terrace.
As long as there's room, I can't see any reason why they shouldn't have it.
So yeah, so that's your seaward facing, and that's the side. I think it's this side here, the side elevation of it. Oddly, I was kind of looking at these looking at these elevations, and I can't see the dining terrace. I don't know if I'm just being really stupid.
It's there on the.
No, because that's there on the existing. Let me.
I think you're going to have to go back and discuss the plans with it. But in principle, does
But-
anyone have a problem with them having a restaurant, a cafe
But this
on the
is-
outside of the
because this is where we all walk at the moment.
Yeah, and we welcome the cladding. It appears to be in Japanese.
Oh, sorry.
Surface water are happy, yeah.
Happy with water.
Proposed to discharge into surface water body is acceptable and meets with the destination runoff hierarchy.
Another point, I hear the word cladding in my mind, unfortunately, thinks Grimble Tower. So I realise this is
This is metal cladding.
Okay,
This
so
isn't-
just
this isn't
because
that
we
kind
can't
of
read
co-
the
This isn't that
application,
kind of composite
can we
stuff.
just say that our assumption is that as a
Yeah,
safe metal
sure.
cladding and there are no safety risks essentially? Do you mind stating that we were not able to read the file as corrupted
Well, I absolutely will point
for the
that out,
record?
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was slightly late in the day. I should have noticed this earlier, but it's slightly late in the day when I realised it. So I do apologise. Normally I would go back to them quite quickly. That's of him.
I can't extend that.
No, fair enough. But like I say, we're swiftly moving on here. Island Crescent. We'll have a quick look at the street views here. This doesn't concern the front of the building, so I'm not even going to waste your time looking at the front of the building. We are going down this little lane here. So you've got Island Crescent wrapping around, and the proposed works are at the rear, and
I've never did it.
this is the garage door for number 11, and this is, I think you can just about see the 11 on there. That's that's the gate that leads into the back garden. So the owners wish to make alterations to the rear garden, which currently has a garage with vehicular access to a private shared driveway, i.e. this back lane. But they have no additional parking. On-street parking, as we all know, is relatively limited in this location, in this part of the town. The purpose of this application is to seek permission to add it says a new raised parking area adjacent to the garage with access from the existing shared private driveway. And it goes on helpfully to say the works will involve demolition of the rear boundary wall, i.e. this grey one here, to open up the driveway. Otherwise, the existing building will be unaltered. I'll quickly show you the...
It's not really back garden. I think you're being a bit rash with that. It's backyard.
Driveway.
Okay, yeah, all right, backyard. La 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 la.
I'm amazed how they can turn.
Yeah, I struggled with the with this thing of the this thing.
So if it's
Out the
raised, how
way.
does the car get up to it?
No, it's
Exactly.
raised to street level. No, it's street level because it's sunken at the moment.
Ah,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. And this is because I was looking at it and thinking, what's this raised element? But you will see that it's this bit here. They've sort of given you a. Anyway, you can see they can quite easily drive into their garage.
Well,
It's just bringing it up to the same level. I think what it is, the point is that the garden is sunken down. So when they say raised parking, they mean they're raising that.
Raising the inside.
Raising the inside, yeah. Because I was thinking, like, is there going to be a ramp? And then it referred to, what did it refer to? Raised beam and block. And I was thinking, oh my God, what is this? I actually had to Google what the heck it meant.
so they're filling it in, basically.
And these bits here, I was like, oh my, does that look like some kind of
Why
chain
did they-
thing
I
that
mean, I
pulls
would
the
have
car
thought
up?
this was-
That's an ACO drain there. So
I
they
would have
built it on
thought
a
this
slight
came under
angle.
permitted development rights. Again, why are they asking for planning permission?
I can't answer that question.
No, they are. So
Yeah,
So
yeah.
literally they're replacing what looks like they're knocking down a wall
Yeah.
and they're raising
Yeah.
what is probably not a
But
particularly
you
green
can
garden.
see these
Nick,
little steps.
Yeah,
it's,
I can see absolutely no problem with this whatsoever.
you supporting it?
Proposed support.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tiny space, you know.
It beats me how they managed to turn into these
Yeah,
places
how
from
they'll
there.
get
So is there a seconder for support?
I'll second.
Second support. Nick, is there anybody who wants to say anything else about this? No? Proposed? Show of hands. We're all supporting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the planning applications.
Right. So, we've got 6 minutes before. Oh no, I've got 10 minutes because we started late, haven't we? I take it at this stage of the proceeding we're not changing our terms of reference or our risk assessments. Recommendations from working parties. I have, just for the interest's sake, to ask them to provide us with our standard parking income and usage figures.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
you
it'd
mark
be
my
interesting
words
to
that.
see what Little Fistral has produced.
And the loss they will have made because they took the prices down on Dane.
Could I be pernickety
Yes.
and say, could I have a vote in this meeting for me to do the FOI requests?
Right. Can
Andy doesn't like.
I propose
stuff
that we do
without
our
decision.
normal FOI to get the usual report on income and footfall, which is the important thing. You seconded it. So show of hands to do that. We're going to get a report for the Perking Working Party, really, which basically says what was your income this year? Did it go up or did it go down?
Yeah.
Absolutely no problem with voting against
Now I
it.
can guarantee that it's gone down in the
So
places.
Kate's a yes with that.
Yeah. And it might be useful once they've outsourced these things to sort of say how badly they've managed them, but never mind. So that, I think that was a yes. Thank you, Duncan.
Yeah, Sandy likes to have a
And I don't think there's anything else from, we reported back, I think, from the, have we reported, yes, we must have reported back from the neighbourhood plan, which is basically saying there's nothing we can do until next year. We've got the information that we've got in the plan. I'm not sure even if we're having another meeting between now and I'm looking at you two are the ones who usually shout, are we having another meeting of the neighbourhood plan working party? Is there a desperate need for it, or maybe a sign-off one towards the, probably March.
March the 3rd.
We'll have one in March, so it's to sign off and say this is we're giving it over to the new committee, good luck. But effectively, they're going to totally revise the local plan. They're not going to, according to the training, they're not even going to start until 26 for the local plan.
Let's say it's 2028 we're looking at.
Chances of August 2028, and I'm thinking, they're not going to, they're 6 months slippage and you're into the next council in 29. We'll try and work in parallel, but we really do not want our plan adopted before the local plan is adopted, because their generalisations then override our specifics. So it's going to be, so we've got enough time to do this. But by then we'll know what they're going to try and allocate the number of houses that we've got. So it's going to be interesting times from wherever we are. Yeah.
The planning training's next Wednesday, the 26th at 4 to 5:15. I don't know if we're just doing it as that.
No, I mean, it may be no different from the last thing he told us, because we did it quite recently, but are you going to provide, are you working that day?
I'm hoping to attend it just because I'm trying to understand what the heck's going on. And
But not sort of setting it up here. We'll look at it from home. Is that?
If you want to, I've booked room 1A, but it's if you want to do it from home, that's absolutely fine. I thought I'll just get in quickly and book the room, but I'll just unbook it.
Does anybody want to do this in parallel as opposed to just listening from home?
I'll probably do it at home.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't think.
Okay. I'll just take a note.
Unless you decide that it would be useful for us all to be there. But I don't think so for this one. Right.
Financial statement?
I'm sorry?
Financial statement?
Have we spent anything? No.
We have no purchases.
No, so we go.
And there are no payments authorised.
Do we have any other correspondence?
No, I haven't got anything relevant to the committee, no.
So items for
I really reiterated what we had said in the past, which is that residential and light industry do not sit well when they are literally on each other's doorstep. And I did that for both of them. And this is what's so frustrating about the 5-day protocol, is that there's just no dialogue. You're totally reliant on your Cornwall councillor calling stuff in. There's just no dialogue. On the 7th. No, sorry, on the 10th. There you go. That was for both of them. That was on the 10th. So
wrong. I think they've been determined to turn that into residential. It might be the thin end of the wedge. We might be coming back with some more residential stuff. They're quite nice. The units are quite nice, but it's just not appropriate.
They've got 16 there already built, haven't they? They can tick off their X thousand list.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the other point was as well, who's going to police this key workers?
Oh, it's nonsense, isn't it?
Who's going to go around and say,
rubbish.
show me your NHS card,
Yeah,
show me your NHS ID.
It's absolute rubbish what they're doing.
There could easily be children in there. Then nobody's going to.
You might only have one to the NHS. There might be a couple. And only one of them might be NHS.
Well, this idea about it's going to be NHS working, that's just fantasy. It's not.
In my partner, we've got one NHS, one non-NHS.
Yeah.
Right. What does the condition 1 say? I bet the condition 1 doesn't say you've got to be an NH worker.
I haven't looked at that.
Documents. Let me surprise you. Right. Conditional approval. Right.
Conditions 1.
just carried out in accordance with the plans. Ah, right, the live work unit shall only be used to provide temporary serviced accommodation or emergency accommodation. They're saying it's the condition for essential key workers and or NHS workers. The accommodation shall not be used for any other purpose. Well, I'm going to see how they're going to...
So how are they going to enforce that then?
Essential key, the Kent sick work comprises health and social care workers, education and childcare work, those who work in key public services, workers within local and national government, those working in food and other necessary goods, those working...
I could live there.
Food, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because you...
Food.
That'd be nice. It's my favourite.
Does anybody believe
Mexican
this for a
food
moment?
outlet.
But from 2 months with the date of this consent, the approved remediation scheme shall be carried out in accordance with the details set in phase. What does the remediation scheme
So that refers to contaminated land.
Right. You think they're
Okay.
going to do that?
Because funnily enough, it's contaminated land.
Yes, I know, I remember that. And didn't they have that as a condition several years ago and they've...
And they did not do, and they
They did not do it.
They did not comply with their condition, did they? No, you're quite
It's
right.
like,
Yeah, well, there you go.
anything.
We will watch with interest.
There was a lot there of that's gone through, but I think that was the most note.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I don't think there's anything else on the agenda, is there? She says, hopefully. Thank you very much for the next meeting is Tuesday because they're going to have a full council meeting.
Yeah. I'll just say I've put in an annual leave request. So
For when? Tuesday?
yeah, so I'm likely not to do that. I've got some very pressing work to do, DIY work to do in the house, so I'm unlikely to be here. Louise will do the meeting.
Okay.
But just be
we'll try
aware
and do
that she's
the-
not
we'll
going
try.
to she's not going to have looked at this in quite that level of detail. All right?
Yes, for Councillor Morris.
I'll give an instant apology. It's a Tuesday. I can't do them.
Yeah. Subs don't have to give apology, but it's very useful that you are here. The more people... and on that point, I think we'll just bring the meeting to a close. We've covered everything. Thank you very much.